Hello again, everyone. This is the video lecture for our Thursday class. Um, I want to add a few things, a few explanations to um, the code that I wrote in for the last video lecture. That was the one for week 4.2. So I have that project open right now. Take a look over here. So far, we've seen that when we want to access, when we want to call or invoke the method, like set name of an object, like this object S1 over here, we use this notation, name of the object, S1, dot, and then the name of the method with whatever arguments. And that's how you access the method of an object. Now, what we've seen is that of a class. What we saw is that classes like the student class that we used, classes contain um, methods like this get name and set name method that we wrote last time, and can also contain variables or data values. One thing that we haven't done is we have not accessed the data members of the student class. And I just want to add something here. Um, Now, what we did do is we did print out the name associated with each of these three objects, student objects that we created last time. And we did that using the getName method. And that's actually the proper way. Whenever you want to access any data values contained inside an object, any member variables, uh, you should uh, you should provide a method to do that. Um, However, it is also possible to access member variables in a different way. Let me show you what I mean. So let me print out the values of the name variables over here, but do it slightly differently. Check this out. So I have okay. So I added basically 4 lines of code to this project from last time, and you can see that the last 3 lines that we had in the main method, they basically print out the value that the name string variable of each object S1, S2, and S3 that stores, and we access that value, that the value of that string, using the getName method that our student class provides. And that's fine. But what you can also do is you can also access the member variable name using this notation. So object name dot variable name. And the result will basically be the same. So let me run this and show you that this is indeed the case. There you go. First 3 lines of output are produced by these 3 lines, and then we have a line break, and then we have another 3 output lines which look identical to the first 3 lines, but as you can see in the code, the first time we're using the getName method of the student class. The second time we are accessing the member variable directly. Now this is possible, you can do that, but it's not advisable. This is not the way you should be accessing member variables of any class. Now the reason this is possible is that we have not put any restriction on the visibility on on the visibility of the member variable name of the student class. Now we can do that. Um, we can do that, and we'll actually spend a good amount of time on issues of visibility of methods, classes, and member variables a little later in the course. There are actually four different levels of visibility that we'll learn about. You're already using one level, and there's a keyword that is used to specify that level. It's public. Basically, if you declare something, a method or a class or a member variable public, it becomes accessible from pretty much everywhere. Um, Again, we'll get into more details of that. If you don't write, and as you can see, we did not write anything in front of in front of this name variable of type string. This is actually a different visibility level. This is called the default visibility level. Now, like I said, I'll get into more details of this a little later in the course once we've covered some more material. And we'll definitely use an alternative to the public and default visibility levels today, and we'll see that I'll show you how to use that in the next project that we'll write today. Now, today's main topic is something called constructors. Now, constructors are a special type of method. Um, we haven't seen any constructor yet, but we'll change that today. So a constructor is it's not like any normal method, any of the normal public methods that we've written, that we've added to classes so far. You cannot give a constructor method any name. A constructor method has, every class has at least one constructor method, and the names of all constructor methods of every class is the same name as the name of the class. This is one thing you have to remember. Second thing is that constructor method do not return any values, not even void. Constructors, you can have multiple constructors for the same class. Um, Constructors may not take any arguments, may not take any parameters, or they may take one, or they may take many parameters. Oh. Sorry about that. Another thing to remember is that constructors execute for each object, the constructor executes only one time. It executes only one time. It executes at the time an object is created. You cannot call the constructor after after an object has already been created. So typically, we use constructors to initialize uh, member variables of objects that we are creating. So you've already seen that when you create an object, by default, member variables are given values. Numeric values are 0. If we have a string, it contains a null string, contains no characters. That's a default for all default initialization that Java does for all member variables of every object. But if you want to initialize or make the first value something different, you have to do it yourself. And the best place to do that, of course, is inside the constructor. Okay. So the constructor basically executes when you invoke the new operator. Okay, we've already, as you can see, we've already done that. Okay. But you'll also notice that in none of the classes that we've written up to this point did we ever write a constructor method. Now, if you don't write a constructor method, that's fine. That doesn't mean that your class doesn't have a constructor. Um, in that case, when you compile your program, the Java compiler will add in one constructor anyway. It'll be a constructor that contains no code, that doesn't do anything. And that constructor actually has a special name. It's called the default no argument constructor. So whether you write one or not, your class always has a constructor. And like I said, the default constructor, you get that whether you write it or not. So let me write, let me show you, uh, uh, let me do a simple small project that demonstrates the use of the constructor method. So I created a new project called test account. The class that we'll be testing will be a class called account. That's why I called um, the project test account. So it's generally um, the convention that I'll be following. Just put the word test in front of the name of the class for which you're writing this test program. So let me show you once again. Some of you were having trouble writing a program in class in which you had to add a new class to an existing project. So this is how you do it. Um, so our project is test account, source packages. The package that we're working on is test account. That's the default package name given when same as the name of the project. Right click on that, go into new, and what we want to do is we want to add a new class. So select Java class, click, and the name of this class that we're adding to this project is account. So writing account, finish, and there you go. You can see that you have a new file called account.java. It's been added to the project, and here's the file itself. And just start adding my code over here. That's what we'll do now. Okay. So, I told you about visibility levels. So this time around, we want this account class to contain two member variables. One is the name of the person that owns the bank account, and the other is the balance or the amount of money that the account contains. Now, this time around, I want to make sure that these two variables are not accessible directly. I want to control access to these variables um, using methods. Basically, I want these member variables to be accessible only by calling methods. So how can I do that? So basically, I have to make these member variables invisible to other objects, outside objects. So what I do is I basically declare these two member variables private. Private is kind of the opposite of public. Okay, so declare anything in your code public, it's basically visible to everyone. Declare something private, and it becomes invisible outside in the code that is outside of the class. So basically, owner name and balance cannot be seen in any part of my project or any other project, any other code that is outside of the account class. Okay. Inside the account class, in all of the methods belonging to the account class, I can still access owner name and balance, and we'll actually be doing that right now. Okay, so let me add a couple of very standard methods first. Let's get to the constructor thing a little later. So public method called void, public method that returns nothing. Method name is add, and I can use this method to basically add an amount to the bank balance, to the balance variable. And so the function performed inside this method is quite simple. Amount given as an argument is added to the balance, this balance of the object. Okay, so obviously um, we can add money to the account. We also want to be able to deduct or withdraw money. The opposite. So this subtracts the amount passed to the deduct method from the bank balance, from the account balance. Okay, what else? Maybe at some point, I just want to specify a number, and that number will be the new balance of the account. Okay, no add or deduct. I just say, okay, put it, the balance is now this much. Done. Okay. I want to be able to change the name on the account. So I'm providing a set owner name method. And what that does is it takes the string in the argument and assigns it to the owner name string contained in the account method, account class. What else? And maybe I also want to read the owner name. So I'm also going to provide a get owner name method. There you go. Okay, this is fairly standard. Now, when I create a new account object, I want to initialize the balance and owner name to, I want to have control what values these two member variables are initialized to. Okay, so again, the best place to do that is in a constructor. Let me show you what the constructor for this class looks like. We already know, so constructors have to be public, always. We said that the constructor does not return anything, not even void. So you can see I skipped over the void return type, and I go straight to the method name, which has to be the same as the name of the class. Okay. So this, if I leave it like this is basically a no arg. This is the same as a no arg default constructor. But I actually want to do something in this method. So let's say I want to, instead of leaving owner name as a null string, I want it to be initialized with the string unassigned. It clearly indicates that this account is new and doesn't belong to any person yet. And the balance, well, Java will initialize it to 0, but since I'm already here, I already have this no arg default constructor, I'm going to initialize balance to a value of 0.0. Let's double it. Okay, so this is my account class, and as you can see, the new thing, two new things actually. One new thing is the introduction of a constructor method, and the other thing is the way we have hidden access, direct access to member variables of this class. Okay, two new things today. Okay, so this is the class that we've made, that we built, and we're going to use this now in the test account class in the main method. let's see what can we do to demonstrate. So um, first of all, let's um, declare an object named ACCT of type account, and let's create a string variable called my name, put my name in it, and well, we still have not created call an object and have and assigned it to this ACCT object. So let's do that now. New. So this is where we're actually creating the account object. And now you've been doing this for a while. You always used to put these blank parentheses when creating a new object of a certain class. Now, today you've probably now figured out why we put these parentheses here. This is basically a call to the constructor method of the account class. Now, the constructor that we just made is a no argument constructor, meaning that we're not giving anything in the argument, and that's why these parentheses are blank. Now, that does not necessarily have to be the case. Okay. So now that our object has been created, we can name, yeah, that's it. We can actually call its set owner name method and pass it the my name string. Okay, and can use the set balance method, and we can initialize the account to 1000 real, feeling rich. And just to test out add method, we can then add 100 real to it. Maybe after adding 100, I'm subtracting 50. And let's say by the end, let's print out t dot get owner name has ACCT dot get balance in the account. So this will basically print out a string that prints out the name of the owner, has Saudi Riyal in the account. Let's try that out. Client. Oh, we don't have a get balance method. Okay, so let me add one. Not too difficult. Public double get balance return the value of balance. All right, run that again. There you go. So you see in the main method we set the balance to 1000. We added 100, deducted 50, which means we should have 1050 in the account, and apparently that's what I have. Okay, so now that you've seen the use of a no-arg constructor, let me do something else. Let me add another constructor, and that's okay. We can have many constructors for the same class. Let me add a constructor that takes a string as an argument, and that string is going to be a name, and instead of leaving the owner name unassigned, I'm just going to assign this name string to the owner name. And I'm still going to assign the start of the balance with 0. All right? Go back to the test program and make some changes over here. So we declare the object. We create the string called my name. And now when I'm creating the object ACCT, I'm not going to call the no-arg constructor. In fact, I'm going to call my other constructor, the one I just wrote. And when I create the account ACCT object of the account class with this constructor, what this will do is it will pass this string, my name, to the account at the time it is being created. This constructor will execute and it will assign the string the name that I'm passing to it. It will assign it to the member variable owner name, which means that when I'm done with this line, I do not have to call the set owner name method again. So I can do these two things I was doing before in 2 lines. I can do them in a single line. So the output of this should still be the same as before. So let me run this. There you go. The owner name still shows up as Usman Ilyas. Now, as you can see, I just passed the name over here. What I could also do is, instead, I can add a third constructor. And in this one, I don't pass a name, I pass a double number. And I assign that to the balance. Go back over here and make a change. I'm now going to create my ACCT object. This time I'm going to give it as argument this double number. Then I'm going to set the owner name. Then I'm going to, basically I'm setting the balance right here in the beginning. Actually, make that 2000. And after that I'll add 100 and subtract 50. So the output should be different this time. You can see that when you run this program, when you create the account object and you pass it a double number over here, Java is smart enough to figure out which of these 3 constructors you mean. You're passing an argument, which means you don't mean to use this one. You're passing, well, not a string, so you cannot use this one. But you do have a constructor that takes a double as an argument, so it will use the appropriate constructor. There you go. Same name. At this time, the balance is 2000 plus 100 minus 50, 2050. Now, just to complete this thought, guess what? You could do both things at the same time. I'm adding a fourth constructor. This one takes a string and a double and assigns the string to owner name. It assigns the double to the balance. We change the test program. So my name, let's make it 4000 this time. This time I'm not going to call set owner name. I'm not going to call set balance. I'm just going to create my object, and straight away I'm going to add 100, subtract 50. Run this. There you go. You can see I did not call set owner name. I did not call set balance. I start off my account object ACCT with my name, pass to it in the constructor over here, and a starting balance of 4,000 real. All right. Okay, that's about it for today. I think we managed to get all the way to, say, all the way up to slide 33 today. Okay, so I'll see you all in class then.